Hi everybody, this is Dan Stolbarger and welcome to this week's KFIR Middle East Update. It's the week of May 8th. As we begin, let me remind you that this is a YouTube and the PDF PowerPoint that accompanies this, that you only see a part of on the bottom of the screen here, is available both on our website as well as on the YouTube channel. There's a link there that you can access it. So with that, let's jump into the events of this week. We call this our News Bites. And some good news, it's good to hear some good news from time to time. The Israeli filter system that's been developed in Jerusalem is killing the corona germs in the hospital air. The new filtration system and disinfection system can target and completely wipe out COVID-19. Iran is promoting the destruction of Israel, as you know, on a regular basis. They call it Quds Day March. Unfortunately, because of the virus, it's been canceled for this year. Now, touting the country's major success in fighting the coronavirus, Benjamin Netanyahu says that all limitations on gatherings will be removed next month, all regulations, if the infection and serious case rates don't rise. I found this interesting. Egyptian military reports that they've destroyed over 3,000 Gaza tunnels in the past 5 years. And then, remarkable, at least to me, despite the pandemic, Israel's death rate dropped 12% in March compared to last year. It's amazing. Well, now on to our major items. We're going to deal with Israel and Iran. Up in the Golan Heights, the Syrian border, from time to time, as you're probably well aware, there are airstrikes, and usually Israel doesn't come out right in the very beginning and say, yeah, we did that. They're usually pretty quiet about it. But the Minister of Defense, Naftali Bennett, is much more bolden, and he's basically saying we have moved from blocking Iran's entrenchment into Syria to forcing it out. We will not stop. As you know, Iran seeks to establish bases with Syria's blessing among Israel's northern border in the Golan, and Israel is trying to prevent this from happening, also preventing Iran from providing Hezbollah with advanced weaponry and specifically precision guiding missiles. And all the way through, you know this, I know this, that in general, Iran's military buildup in Syria remains a red line for Israel. So this battle will not calm down whatsoever. And I find it interesting that Bennett says, you know, we're not just trying to thwart this. We want to completely remove Iran from the Golan. And this last Monday, there were Syrian airstrikes, as I've mentioned, and apparently Israel has significantly stepped up its attacks against both Iran and Hezbollah. Monday's attack was the sixth one in Syria over a 2-week period. And it was all against either Iranian or Hezbollah targets. And according to Israeli assessment, it appears that Iran has begun giving up on its tremendous military investment in Israel. Time will tell, but that's an interesting development. And then we have this whole issue of annexation. I find it interesting because if you've been to Israel, the one thing that the guides, our good friend Jane, has always said to us is that that corridor from the Galilee, from the southern tip of Tiberias, all the way down to, the turnoff that you make to go up to Jerusalem around Jericho, that corridor, it's, at least from the Jordanian standpoint, and they won't go on record of saying this, but they want Israel to control that. They need that as a buffer zone between the Palestinians of the West Bank and Jordan itself. And then, as you know, if you keep going past that turnoff, you go through places like Qumran and actually almost all the way down to En Gedi. And that's still that same corridor. This is part of what Benjamin Netanyahu, you can see in the photos here, is wanting to annex. Now, the U.S. is very supportive, of course, of Israel, but they've come out to say the U.S. wants to implement a peace plan, not an annexation plan. Now, there's some, this is a ping pong ball that's sort of going back and forth. And so, on one hand, we're hearing that the U.S. supports this, but are there caveats? And so, one of the things that I read this week, and this is ever changing, by the way, is that the U.S. is in favor of this if, and that's the big word, right? If the Jewish state agrees to the Trump administration's Middle East peace plan, the Peace to Prosperity vision, which includes the creation of a Palestinian state. Now, Netanyahu has already indicated that he will support this, but we'll have to wait and see exactly what that then means. Friedman basically has come out to say that before the U.S., David Friedman, the ambassador to Israel, by the way, he says before the U.S. recognizes Israeli annexation of any parts of the West Bank, Benjamin Netanyahu must first offer, there's a key word, offer to negotiate with the PA chief Mahmoud Abbas for the creation of a Palestinian state. And so, is it enough to make the offer? We already know that Abbas has said he'll reject everything. Does Israel move ahead? What kind of reaction does the Arab world have to all of this, the annexation of at least a portion of the West Bank? Time, again, will tell. I don't think you should run out to your local Bible bookstore to make sure you pick up the new translation from what's called the Danish Bible from Denmark. Right when you think, I should probably just stop there, that it can't get any worse, the Danish Bible has removed the name Israel from its Bible. This denies the reader the knowledge of the intrinsic connection between the Hebrew Bible, and the New Testament, between Israel and the land, its land. It falls in the trap of what Paul warned us. Remember, Paul says, it's not you, Christian church, it's not you that support the root, but the root supports you, Romans 11. Its version of the Bible robs the Christians of its understanding of its Jewish roots. It presents a story of a Christian faith. It's not the Old Covenant and the New Covenant. It's not the Old Testament and the New Testament, and these being one. This is referred to as, quote, the New Agreement. This is the attempted murder of Israel. And let's face it, from time to eternity until this day, it's too real to let people play whimsically with its land, its people, or its name. Unbelievable. Maybe it is very believable with the rise of anti-Semitism today. A breakthrough, a coronavirus breakthrough. Defense Minister Naftali Bennett said on Monday that Israel has isolated a key coronavirus antibody at its main biological research laboratory, and he calls it a significant breakthrough. You can read that article on your own, because I am running out of time. The Western Wall, good news. The Western Wall is now reopened. There are restrictions, social distancing, face masks, and things such as that. Only 300 worshipers at a time, but it is reopened. And then there's something I wanted to read you in conclusion from Menachem Begin. On June 22nd, 1982, the Delaware senator at that time was Joe Biden, as you know, later to become Obama's sidekick. And he confronted Israeli Prime Minister Menachem Begin at that time, threatening to cut off U.S. aid to Israel. And this was Begin's response in full to Joe Biden. He says, "I am not a Jew with trembling knees. I am a proud Jew with 3,700 years of civilized history. Nobody came to our aid when we were dying in the gas chambers and ovens. Nobody came to our aid when we were starving to create our country. I mean, striving to create our country. We paid for it. We fought for it. We died for it. And we will stand by our principles. We will defend them. And when necessary, we will die for them again." Amen. With that, I wish you shalom and God bless you until next week.